Hey guys, what's up? It's imuRgency and welcome back to my channel. Today, we are back and looking a little different to talk about the brand new season of Ginny and Georgia. I know I'm really excited about it, and I know y'all are really excited because the last Ginny and Georgia video that I made was literally the second most popular video on my channel, and apparently how a lot of y'all found this channel. So I'm ready to go. I have my thoughts. I took a good amount of time to really seep in this season, really fester in the juices of cringe, of trust and mistrust, and biracial slam poetry to bring this review together today. So if you are new to the channel and you have not seen my face before, make sure to hit that subscribe button because we are going to get into it. I cover all things TV, pop culture, fashion, and commentary on this channel. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, then, you know, hit the buttons. And speaking of hitting buttons, the like button is like right there or like right here. And that helps out so much with the YouTube algorithm. So definitely hit that because we're trying to make this video an even bigger hit than last time. Oh, also, and one more thing, make sure to follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, all at imuRgency. I just recently posted a new picture on Instagram featuring my new twists. So if you want to see more of that, you can go check that out over there. But let's actually get into this review. I know y'all have been waiting. So Ginny and Georgia season 2. I feel like this season changed everything for me. And what I mean by that is that this season took what was pivotal to the Ginny and Georgia experience and leveled it up. Like, I want to say that this season was a lot better than season 1. Don't get me wrong, it still had its cringe moments and it still had its awkward moments where you're kind of just like, who's writing the script? But I feel like that is what makes Ginny and Georgia so much fun to watch. That is why we watch this show. Like, yes, we could all agree season 1 was very interesting. It was very cringy, but that's why we watched it. That's why we obsessed over it. That's why we fell in love with Ginny and Georgia. And they kept true to that while also improving the writing overall, and namely making Ginny less annoying this season. In fact, I'd say that Ginny is one of the more likable characters this season, which is a complete 180 from last season. Like, I feel like Ginny went from like being super angry and angsty in season 1 to being more introspective, sad, and just overall having like a darker tone to her character. Like, a lot of stuff was going wrong for Ginny, and we really got to see a new, more vulnerable side to Ginny. I really like seeing the dynamic between Ginny and Zion this season and how Zion got her into therapy to help her stop or like manage her burning, and just seeing how seriously Ginny was taking therapy in her quest to get better. And I also like how they didn't make it seem like therapy was just like the cure-all, like once you start therapy you're just gonna be good automatically, and how we sort of had these ups and downs with Ginny's mental health where she does actually relapse in the show, because I feel like that's just more realistic and not as like traditionally preachy when it comes to just like therapy representation in shows. And we've moved on from her Oppression Olympics arc, which, girl, I get it. I get the message, I get the sentiment. I've seen other shows tackle this and do it better, but we didn't get that with her character, thankfully, and instead get a more mature and more curious version of her trying to identify and navigate her race in like a predominantly white high school. Like, there's a whole plot line of Ginny having to interact with her English teacher who is singling her out, thinking that he's doing a good thing by making her teach the class on Black authors, and essentially doing his job for him. And the way that the show navigates that, I feel like, is a lot better than how they would have handled it in season 1. Like, in this season, Ginny brings it up to a bunch of different people and they all give her various advice, and then she is left to make her own decision. And again, I really like seeing how Zion and Ginny interacted on that level, because I feel like that was what was really missing from season 1, was like informed perspective and just having a conversation that wasn't just like, I'm more oppressed than you. And that really shows this season because Ginny is actually hanging out with a lot more people. Like, she successfully befriended Bracia, who I feel like also got a lot of character expansion this season as opposed to just being like the Black friend. Like, we actually see Ginny have her separate friend groups of other Black women to really hang out with. I personally really like to see it. But I feel like we can't talk about Ginny this season without talking about her love interest, Marcus. I don't know how to feel about Marcus. I don't know! If y'all remember my last review, I wasn't huge on Hunter, but I also did not like Marcus. Like, Marcus for me was just kind of doing too much. He was too edgy. He was too, you know? And he definitely keeps a lot of those traits in season 2. He treats Ginny very well in the beginning, which I do appreciate. And he's like genuinely there for her, which I also really like. I guess I have less of a problem with them together and more so how they ended. Also, spoiler alert, this video is going to have spoilers. Like, I think it's really interesting how they paralleled Ginny and her character flaws and Georgia and her character flaws when it comes to relationships, because both of them have this thing where they just talk about themselves and they only really get caught up in their own issues and aren't really super aware of what's going on with other people. And I think it's especially well done because Ginny literally calls out Georgia for this a couple episodes episodes before in this season. And then a little later, she has to come to terms with like she's doing the exact same thing that Georgia did to her to Marcus. He's clearly depressed and going through stuff. She's just too wrapped up in her own world and things that are going on with her to actually really acknowledge that and actually be there for him in the same way that he was there for her. So it causes them to break up. And of course, Marcus could have communicated that a little bit more. And I feel like he also had like some of the words of Georgia going on in his head. But yeah, I wasn't happy that they officially got together, but I was sad that they ended, if that makes sense. But that's enough about Ginny for now. Let's talk about Georgia. But more specifically, let's talk about Georgia getting married. So as we know from season 1, Georgia ended up with Paul instead of Joe, which I feel like everyone is really sad about. Like, Paul's a cool guy, but Joe, really? You're gonna look at Joe and you're gonna choose Paul. Right. But their relationship is just so interesting because in my mind, Paul is literally just a Ken doll. Like, he's a placeholder for me. Like, personality-wise, he doesn't give too much besides money in like a paternal figure. But yeah, he's just rich with power, and I feel like that is what Georgia really wants. She wants someone safe, someone that can provide, and someone that can protect, which I can appreciate, but I'm just really not super huge on Paul. It's just really funny seeing their dynamics because they're definitely in two completely different places when it comes to like parenting and just how adults should act around kids. Like, Paul is your like typical American dad. Like he will scold Ginny and Austin when they do something bad, as opposed to Georgia, who kind of just lets it go and lets things happen. Or when she's asked to reprimand someone like Ginny, she goes, "Bad Ginny."
Do you understand?
Yeah, I know, I'm sorry. It's dumb.
We expect more from you, Ginny. Georgia, do you have anything to add?
Yeah? Bad Ginny.
Bad Ginny. So I just think their whole dynamic was really fun. But Georgia this season, I feel like, was also a highlight. Like I'm glad that the attention was balanced equally between Ginny and Georgia, and that there were a lot of parallels within their different storylines this season. And what I mean by that is, like, Georgia, we also get to see struggle this season. We get to see her struggle with her mental health at the same time that we're seeing Ginny struggle with hers. And both of their baggages and traumas are combating each other, which causes them both to suffer even more. Like, some standout scenes that I'm thinking about is first the one where Ginny is showing Georgia that she knows what she did, where she gets the smoothie that looks like the one that Georgia made to kill her ex-husband, and it's just slow-mo walking to some intense dubstep to hand it to Paul.
I'm tired.
Okay, I'm gonna need you to be so for real. Was any of that really necessary?
Like, if that isn't quintessential Ginny and Georgia energy, I don't know what is. And then the scene where they actually connect about the grievances that they have for each other in the car after they go to therapy together. Like, I feel like that scene was really great because they kind of cleared the air with each other and kind of established an understanding for what each other was going through. And I just feel like that was a really great moment of development for both of them. Although I will say, when it comes to Georgia's character, we definitely did learn a lot about her in the sense that, like, she's just genuinely a serial killer. Like, if you think about it, the difference between her and Joe Goldberg is just how they present their information. Like, if we were in the head of Georgia, I think that we'd be looking at her the same way that we look at Joe Goldberg, you know? Because at this point, she's at least gotten, like, at least 3 bodies that we know of. And of course she had her reasons for each of them, but like when we think about it, like especially the last one, the one that got her caught, let's talk about that one for a little bit, because that kind of irritated me. You've made it this far, being your little serial killer self, like taking out people that have wronged you or your family. I get it. But if you know that a PI is tracking you, right, and waiting for you to slip up, just because you get a little feeling of sentimentalness because your neighbor actually does something nice for you, why is your instinct to try and take out her dying husband so that she suffers less? Like, what? That just shows that she thinks about things in such a twisted way. Like, she genuinely thought, like, oh, if I take this man out of his suffering, then everyone else will feel better. Like, what? Why you? Why would you do that, you know? And not even that, like, that aside, like, I can deal with that being twisted, I can deal with that being Georgia. But if you've been so careful and so good about it in the past, why are you going to take your bare hands, put your fingerprints on a pillowcase, and then cry on the pillowcase? Like, if you've done this before, if you know how this works, you know you're being tracked, why are you going to basically give yourself up like that? It's like the one crime that she actually does for someone else, like genuinely someone else and not someone in her family, is the one that gets her locked up in the clink. But again, we'll get into that when we talk about the ending and the finale and all that. So let's talk about some other characters. Austin this season. I personally think that it's hilarious that in my last video, I said, Austin's like wholesome. or whatever, but he also like has like violent tendencies. Like I feel like if the show gets to season 2, it might be cool to like see Austin like go off the edge like a baby serial killer or something. And that is exactly what we got in season 2. Like Austin is unhinged. Like Austin is not okay, and I think that we should be concerned because the stuff that Georgia and company has put Ginny and Austin through is the same kind of backstory stuff that we see in shows like You. Like the way that Austin was so comfortable with stabbing another kid with a pencil last season, and then all of a sudden knowing how to shoot and fire a gun. Like it's just the way that Austin came out the cut this season with a Glock and shoots his biological dad in the shoulder. First shot, direct hit. Like, are we not concerned? Are we not concerned in the slightest? Like this is troubling behavior. Maybe Ginny isn't the only one that needs to be in therapy. But Austin was such a fun character, and I feel like it's so sad at the end when he witnesses his mom doing what she did. And you can see that he kind of blames himself for it because even though he didn't say anything, he might think that like something he did might have tipped off the police. And I just personally feel really bad for Austin for that because I know that's going to stick with him for a while. We'll talk about a couple more good things about this season before we get into the not so good. Zion. I've been mentioning Zion a lot. I really liked Zion's redemption arc this season. Last season, he was giving very much deadbeat. Very much, I want to help, but I'm not going to. We get to see him put his money where his mouth is this season, and I really love it. Besides the fact that he is just fine. Like, this man is fine. You can't deny that this man is fine. Like, on TikTok, I've been reacting to this show, and each time that I have to, like, put my phone up to record the scenes with Zion, I get a little flutter in my heart, because I'm like, ooh, don't look at me like that. Please, please. Because he has such a piercing glare. And I may or may not have looked up his actor's birthday, and he does have to be born the day before me, which makes us basically twin Sages. He's on December 6th, I'm on December 7th. I'm taking that as a sign. Just me personally, I don't know about you. You can do whatever you need to do, but I think that there is a connection there. So if for whatever reason, Zion's actor, you're seeing this, hey. But yeah, Zion's redemption arc was really good to see because he was really there for the kids. And we get to see more of his family and see him actually move on from Georgia in a really healthy way. I'm really excited to see what comes out of that in season 3. There's one scene in the season with Zion and Ginny that really just does do it for me, and it's when Ginny's having her first panic attack. You could see Zion just be there. At first, I'll be honest, at first I thought he was being really unhelpful. You get to see him like know exactly how to calm her down. And when he says like, your mom used to do the same thing, I was like, wow. Impact. Like that man is so real, and he kept Ginny's secret and everything. Like, yeah, Zion had his redemption arc, and I was completely and utterly here for it. And we mentioned her before, but can we talk about Bracia? I've been hearing a lot of discourse about Bracia. Some people are really happy that she's gotten more screen time and that she has become more of a series regular, and other people are not so happy because they feel like they only bring Bracia on for her blackness and just for the sake of her being black on the show. I am personally in the former camp rather than the latter camp, because while yes, I feel like they brought Bracia on to be Ginny's black friend, Bracia has her own character. Bracia has her own plotline and her own arc, and I love that for her. Like her whole crush on Brian and their whole dynamic, and her dealing with stuff with the play, and her having her own doubts about like being cast as the lead in the play, being black, with some of the dialogue claiming to have the princess have like porcelain skin. I really like that, and I literally just made a video about colorism and casting in Hollywood. So it's really nice to see a dark-skinned woman have this role and have her own plotline. And like I feel like between her, Zion, and Brian, like I feel like it's just really nice to see that representation. Like when I asked last video for a love story like that, I was not expecting Ginny and Georgia to be the show that would deliver that. But I'm happy for it. I love how wholesome it is. Although I will say that some of y'all are out of pocket. Yes, y'all specifically, because I did fully post a TikTok about Bracia and Brian. Why did some of y'all call Brian a discount Andre? Don't be rude. Brian is a king and nothing less. Thank you very much. But now we've talked about the good. It's time we get into some of the not so good that makes Ginny and Georgia chronically, critically, and unfortunately. We have the cringe and we have the bad characters. And I feel like this season, what Ginny used to be, Max has fully taken her place and made it 10 times worse. Like on the positive side, I really do love seeing the sapphic representation with Max, Silver, and Sophie, because I feel like specifically Max and Silver's dynamic was really cute and wholesome, and I really love seeing that. But outside of that, Max's character was just so trash. Like so trash. Like I understand that she was done dirty. I understand that she was done dirty because Ginny was hooking up with her brother without her knowing. Like that, okay, yeah, that was a little shady, that was a little bad. But to take it to the extreme that she did, where she not only excommunicated Ginny, but also Abby as a result, like that is a little much. And the way that she was treating them for like 70% of the season, like that's a lot. Of course, I feel like that's realistic to high school because I feel like there's petty stuff like that, but like just the sheer amount of that Max was exuding this whole season was uncomfortable, to say the least. Especially towards Abby, because I feel like out of the two, Abby did like the least. And I feel like Abby, we're going on 2 seasons where we just don't fully get what's going on with her or have anyone really care for her. And I wonder if like that's eventually gonna like boil over in season 3, because season 1 we found out what's going on with Abby. We found out that no one cares. Like it's like everyone knows what's going on with Abby, or most people know what's going on with Abby to varying levels, but collectively no one cares. Like no one is checking for Abby, and Abby is going through it. Like at least with Ginny, she's getting some help that she needs, but Abby is just on her own. And this is the 2nd season where no one gives a fuck. Like I need someone to check on Abby because homegirl is struggling bad. Like it gets to the point where like the show turns into Euphoria for a little bit. Like that scene where Max is being a terrible friend and being super cringy towards Abby. You know the scene where Abby's just like, you wanna cut class and smoke some weed? I don't know where that accent came from. That's just how it played out in my mind. But like it was giving Euphoria vibes. Like that part was giving Euphoria dupe. Like we see a lot of substance usage this season with Ginny and Abby cutting class to smoke, to Marcus coming to school drunk. Like all that's missing is a little bit of Molly and you basically got Euphoria. But yeah, the season was definitely still cringe, but significantly less cringe than season 1. And I think another reason why that is because we get significantly less Hunter this season, and Hunter was driving a lot of cringe in season 1. And I'm almost positive that it was Hunter because Hunter is cut back a lot this season. Like we don't see a lot of Hunter this season, but when we do, it's cringy. May I present to you the scene where Ginny and Bracia get back from their photo shoot, and Hunter takes one look at it and he's like, oh, I can't look at this. I can't look at Ginny looking this good. I can't take it.
She looks phenomenal. I mean, they both do.
Okay, I did not need to see her looking that good today. I did not need to see that.
All right, settle down there, Hunter. If you need a second to collect yourself.
Like, calm down, bestie. You need to take a breather? You need a second to collect yourself? Like, what was that? Like, yeah, the cringe lies with Hunter. But I feel like along with Hunter, there were also still the slow-mo scenes. We got them last season, but the ones this season just killed me. Because the thing with Ginny and Georgia is that a slow-mo scene is fine. A slow-mo scene is perfectly fine because it has impact. It shows like a confident energy, like you're focused on whatever is being put in slow motion. But the thing with Ginny and Georgia is that with their slow-mo scenes, they always choose to put the most obscene, abhorrent, and mismatched audios along with it. Where you're just like, what am I watching? Was this necessary? Like, did we really need to come here? Like I really can't, like I still think about that smoothie scene. Like, why was there intense dubstep? For Ginny literally just walking down her kitchen. I get that that's supposed to be like an empowering moment. Like it's supposed to show that like Ginny is on her shit. But like, did we need that? Do we need that specific soundtrack? That specific song. Like there's so many other boss bitch sounds and they use them. My thing is they use them later in the season. Like the slow-mo scene with Abby being like that was good boss bitch music. Like it was a good slow-mo, it had great energy to it, and it kind of fit. But the smoothie scene, I don't know what was going on. I don't know what that was. Now we're gonna talk about Nora. Nora is such a follower. Like Nora is the definition of a fake friend. Like Nora is such a fake friend. I don't think we're talking about that enough. Like I think we harp on Max, but we don't get on how Nora was just bandwagoning with Max. Like Nora literally had no reason to be rude to anybody. She was literally unaffected. Like nothing was happening to her, but she was giving them just as much attitude as Max was. And even after the fact, Abby calls her out on it, being like, hey, that was really shitty of you to do. And she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was crazy back then. And then they like hug it out like, girl, you are fake. Be for real. Be so for real. And then all of a sudden the characters listed I don't like. Gil, of course, for obvious reasons. Like them introducing Gil this season was a complete plot twist. Who would have thought Georgia's baby daddy would come back with a vengeance? Like, I'm so glad that Cynthia actually did her big one and actually did not rent an apartment to Gil, because Gil is scary. Gil is very scary. I don't like how they saved Gil, but I get why they saved Gil after Austin went pew-pew, because they could not cover that up in time. But yeah, Gil was just a trash human being, and I loved seeing Paul. The one time that Paul did something that I really enjoyed was when he stood up for Georgia even after Georgia spilled her guts saying everything that she did, and Paul was like, you know what? I still love you. I'm mad at you, but I still love you. This man needs to get out the house. He needs to get out of the city. And I'm calling my attorney. Like that. Power. Powerful. Love the man for it.
Okay, hey Stink. I'm editing this right now and I completely forgot that I just did not talk about one character in specific. Who the fuck is Samantha? Like, am I missing something? Did I miss a memo? Like, I do not remember Samantha being in season 1, but I sure do notice that she's in season 2, and that, no shade to her actor, because I feel like her actor ate down with getting the annoying pick-me-isms. But why is she there? Like, every time she spoke this season, I was like, why are you here, girl? Like, when she's reminding Ginny that she used to be poor, or like when she's just saying off-the-wall stuff, or like shaming Abby, or just like really inserting input where not needed. Abby was onto something when she said that she loves when they bully Samantha, because Sammy Girly.
And then last pairing that I did not like or care for in the least was Cynthia and Joe. At first I was like, yay, Joe finally gets some attention. And then I remembered Cynthia's still married. And Joe is so great. Joe deserves so much better. He really genuinely deserves so much better. We get to learn more about Joe's dark side, if you could call it that, of him like planting stuff on like a bully, if you call that a dark side. But yeah, I did not enjoy the Cynthia and Joe relationship. But now let's talk about the ending, the finale. The ending was so sad and opens up so many different possibilities for season 3. Jesse, or Gabriel, whatever you want to call him, was working so dang hard to put Georgia in jail, and he got it. He really got it. And the way that he got it was so sick too. Like, it was literally moments after Georgia got exactly what she wanted. She was able to feel safe and loved and fully successful for all of 0.2 seconds before Jesse comes breaking in, putting her in the clink. Like, it's really sick. It's really sick. And like I was saying before, the fact that she got sent to the clink for the good of another person, sick. Absolutely sick. And I feel like that whole episode, knowing that that was going to happen, I was really just hoping that they would cancel the wedding and just leave town. Like, I was hoping that they would leave town. When Ginny's like, you know what, it's okay, do we need to pack our bags and leave? Like, yes, it's time to go. It is time to go, because you may not know it, or you may not think to know it, but you are being tracked down. A case is being presented against you, and you are not winning. Like, yeah, the ending was really sad for so many reasons, but namely because Georgia really did face her biggest fear and get her biggest dream all at the same time, all within like 30 minutes of each other. So that leads me to my predictions for next season, because I feel like we are getting a next season the way that they're setting things up with Georgia going to jail. Like, I don't think they're gonna just leave that woman in the clink. Like, there is stuff that is going to go down. I personally think that Paul is not going to let her out, because he is the mayor of the city, right? He has some pull, and he also has some of the best attorneys. So I think, in my mind's eye, I feel like once the case is presented and all the facts are laid out, and Jesse's able to go through and say exactly how many people that she's killed, what her ties have been. You gotta remember, when Georgia was telling Paul everything, she conveniently left out all the murders. Paul does not know about the murders, and he made Georgia promise that that was everything, and Georgia lied. And I feel like once he finds out about that, he's not going to want to support her in the same way. Like, I don't think he's going to love her in the same way, or at least willing to support her financially. And I feel like that's going to lead to Georgia losing custody of the kids. And I feel like Austin's gonna go to Gil. And I feel like Ginny is going to go with Zion. And I feel like that's gonna be the whole plot line of season 3. That's my guess. I think it's gonna be a get Georgia out of jail and get Austin away from Gil sort of situation. But I don't know. That would be interesting. That would be spicy. But what will happen is still up in the air. We don't know. But what I do know is that I really, really did enjoy this season of Ginny and Georgia. It gave me everything I needed and more. It gave me the cringe. It gave me the emotions. I was able to sympathize with Ginny, and I'm excited for season 3. I think I would give this season a solid 8.5 out of 10. Like, I really enjoyed this. Like, it was fun. But now I want to hear from you. What did you think about season 2 of Ginny and Georgia? I want to hear all of your thoughts in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was cringe? Let me know all of your thoughts down in the comments below. I know that y'all have been waiting for this review, so I really hope that I was able to deliver for y'all. Again, if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any content, and to leave a like on this video, because again, that helps out so much. Follow me on my socials at imuRgency on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And other than that, I think I will see you in the next video. Peace.